Hey guys, this is everything I knit in 2022. Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to the String Things channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a stay-at-home mom living in Vancouver, Canada, and this channel is dedicated to talking about my knitting hobby. I knit for myself and for my daughter Darcy, who is 2. I've been wanting to record this for quite some time. It's been about a month since I was last in front of the camera. Family got sick after the holidays. I'm still not quite 100%, but I'm nearly there. But I was starting to feel like I had a better chance of waiting for the planets to align than waiting for the, perfect opportunity to make this video. So before we get started, I'm going to do my best to name the pattern, designer, and yarn for each item. I'm limiting the list to garments, and I think I've got one accessory to share just for timing's sake. And also some of the things are packed away. I don't have them anymore. One of the items is something my daughter is currently napping with, so I wasn't going to take that from her. I'll put up information on the screen as well, and as many details as I can in the description box. So let's get into it. I'm going to go somewhat chronological order, and hopefully you'll be able to see kind of a progression or a level of improvement as we go through each of the items. So first item, so January 2022, the intent of this item was to make a kind of a classic cardigan that I could use for layering. So that meant something that was more fitted, especially in the armpit area, so I could get it into some more of my fitted jackets. And this yarn is something you can buy off of Yarn Inspirations. It's called Lincoln Fog. So here's the first item. It's a pretty standard V-neck cardigan. The pattern comes out of a book. So that's the handy book of top-down sweaters. You just figure out what gauge you want to knit your item at and follow the instructions, because there are different instructions for each gauge. Let me just open up a chart real quick just to give you guys the idea. But essentially, like, there's a chart. On the side here it says 3, 4, 6, 7. That's the number of stitches per inch, and then it tells you how many stitches to cast on, for example, based on which gauge you're going to knit at. So I will admit right away that I pulled this out of storage and have worn this 0 times since completing it. There is nothing wrong with the construction of this. The fit is pretty good under the armpit. The main reason why I don't wear this item is the color. So I suspect that December 2021 there must have been a good sale, and I bought this yarn, and I must have been thinking at the time, maybe I'm gonna wear a bright blue cardigan. The color itself is nice, but I just don't wear blue. 99% of the time I'm wearing blue jeans, and so I just can't get over the blue top, blue bottoms. It's just too much blue. Although right now I'm wearing, you can't tell in this frame, I'm wearing light color jeans. It doesn't look too bad, but it's still, again, I have worn this 0 times. So this is going to go in a giveaway pile. I do recommend this book if you're a little bit adventurous or want to, try make some more classic fitting sweaters. You do have to come up with how much ease you want to make. So it does provide measurements, all of the finished measurements, and then you just have to choose accordingly what size you want to make. And because I had leftover yarn from that cardigan project, I also wanted to experiment with making a raglan for my daughter Darcy. It probably looks funny in proportion wise, but infants have weird proportions. I drafted up this pattern myself because that book does not include infant sizes. It pretty much worked, except the collar is a little bit loose. It probably would benefit from an elastic. I put Darcy in this a couple times, not too much, because there were some better options for her to wear before choosing this one. And yeah, something else to mention with that cardigan is it's been in storage the whole time, but it looks like it needs to be given a good deep hill or shave already. And so I don't think the yarn would be very durable over time. Okay, moving on. Next item, it's called the Autumn League Pullover. This is free pattern from Alexi of Two of Wands. You can find the free version on her website. You just have to scroll through. You can pay a small fee for a PDF to download. This is knit in Lion Brand Woolies yarn in the color, I believe, Natural Heather. I have a ton of this yarn. This is one of my most worn sweaters. I mostly wear this inside of the house because it's just really comfy. If it gets dirty, it is machine washable because it's 80% acrylic, 20% wool. So yeah, it's easy to care for when you're at home with a toddler. It's, in terms of the durability of this yarn, it pills a lot. And I've already done, you know, a few shaving depill sessions with this. And my ribbing is really wonky for whatever reason. I did use yarn that I had frogged from a different project to make this, so I don't know if that contributed to the wonkiness. I really like this V detail. So that detail mimics what like commercial or actual crew neck raglan pullovers have. Sorry, I feel like I have fluff on my face. But yeah, I definitely recommend this pattern. I want to make an 100% animal fiber version of this sweater to replace this one. I don't know if that's going to be done this year because this one's still good to wear. So, but I do plan on making a replacement for this. And of course, because I had more of this yarn, I wanted to experiment again, making Darcy another sweater. So I drafted up another raglan pattern for her, and this one has a little cable running down the sleeve. This one, so after making the blue one, and I thought the collar was too large, made the collar pretty small on this one. It still fit over her head, but it was tight, and it's also because I did half twisted rib that made it probably a little tighter than it needed to be. Had I done just regular 1x1 ribbing, it might have hit perfect. So yeah, again in Lion Brand yarn, self-drafted for Darcy. Darcy's too big for this now, so this is also going to go in a giveaway pile. And because I liked the Autumn League pullover pattern so much, should mention that the pattern's written for like a cotton yarn, and I'm using something that behaves closer to wool. So I think it works really well. Like the gauge, I think it's something like 17 or 18 stitches per. So yeah, really a nice pattern to knit up. So I also made a black one, which looks like a black hole on camera, but it is the exact same as the light version, except I somehow had a tighter tension when I was knitting it up, and I also did half twisted rib for end of the sleeves, body, and collar. So I did all the same stitch counts, but the collar is snugger on this one because of the half-twisted whip. It's almost a little bit too snug, so I can feel it around my neck. I believe I might have done more decreases on the sleeve for this one because this one has a nice, this one fits nicer. So this one's definitely a more slim fit in the arms. The length is also a lot better in this one. So in terms of like wearability, doing chores, cooking and stuff, this is much better fit than the other one. But the lighter version definitely like the cozy, loose, oversized fit. So this one I am more likely to wear this one out of the house than the light one, also because the dark color seems to hide all the pilling better. But also the downside of it is that I'm just like covered in lint and cat hair all the time with this one, unfortunately. Okay, what do we got next here? So that covers, I guess, kind of January, February. Then this next one is my first, I guess, like 100% animal fiber, although it's got like the silk core because it's Touch Me Mohair from We Are Knitters. Here, I'll just show you guys. It is the Cumulus Blouse pattern from Petit Knit. Knit 2 strands held together of Touch Me Mohair in the color Natural. Probably hard to see over my, you just have to kind of imagine. But a nice, relaxed, simple raglan. All the edges are finished with I-cord, and you've got like a nice soft V. I made the smallest size, and for I think almost every petite knit pattern I've done, and then I will be showing you, I've made the smallest size. I also knit this in the beige color of Touch Me Mohair as a gift to my cousin. It's literally the exact same fit because my cousin and I are nearly the exact same size, so that was really nice and easy. I just had to secretly find out her measurements, and turned out to be my measurements, and made her one for her birthday as a gift. So we're moving on into springtime. I wanted to kind of experiment with more texture, and usually when I want to experiment something, I make something in Darcy size. So I made Darcy the Currant Cardigan. The designer is Marina Iueva. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It's got all moss stitch in the back and these lovely bauble pattern in the front. There is a crochet version as well. And if you go to the Ravelry page for this pattern, you will see my whip, or my project, is one of the pictures on the sales page. So that was like, for me, a little, yay, I did something well enough that they like it. This is just knit up in some acrylic yarn from Michaels, and the pattern, the suggested yarn is Drops Air, and I do have some in my stash to make one for Darcy, hopefully soon. We'll see. But yes, I will be making another one of these. It's a really easy pattern to follow. There is, from what I remember, it's charted instructions. But also the size range for this sweater was, I think it's newborn to 10 years. So I could potentially make this for Darcy, you know, every other year. Next item I have is something else for Darcy. This is the Petit Souffle pattern from Laura Penrose Knits. I knit the size 2 to 3 years. It's still a bit big on Darcy, like it's baggy. Like she could wear it, but it is, I think it's beyond the oversized look. It's like it's too big still, but it's super cute. The color looks really nice on her. This is made out of another Michaels yarn that I had in my stash. This one's actually a superwash merino blend with acrylic. I really liked this. I really like the I-cord finish at the top. It's really nice and clean. That signature ruffle of Laura's is super cute. A little bit of, I can't think of the word right now. A little bit of a puff sleeve there, and really clean edge at the bottom with the fold over hem. I can't wait for Darcy to fit this, and I wouldn't say I was bored, but Darcy has this doll and I thought it'd be really cute if she matched her doll. So I used almost like a lace weight yarn, and I made a little mini version for her doll. Also just in a Michaels acrylic yarn from my stash. I have a lot of acrylic yarn in my stash from my crochet days. But I kind of keep them on hand because they come in handy for like odds and ends, costumes, experimenting. And if I do want to make more crochet or knit toys, it's good yarn to use for that. But yeah, so if you want to look at the scale, it's tiny. Okay, so now we're moving into the warmer months. It's almost summertime. I decided to try to knit something I could wear for the summer. So I bought the June top pattern from Petit Knit, and I used some cotton yarn from We Are Knitters in my stash. I think the color is called dark copper or just copper. I'm not sure. Again, made the smallest size, and I kind of wore it, but so what happened was, like, this yarn I don't think is actually the right weight of yarn for this pattern, but I just wanted to use this and try to make a summer item. This probably looks hilarious over top. It's very 90s, going back to my youth. I really, really like this color. So if I could find this color, maybe in like a cotton merino and a lighter weight yarn, I think I would totally make this top again. It's very straightforward. Finished with I-cord on all the edges. The only downside of this top, other than it stretching out, but that's not the pattern's fault, is so these straps are finished with I-cord on, you know, both sides, and the I-cord on mine curls under, and I even, you know, tried ironing this flat and it still rolls under, and because of the weight of the yarn I use, it results in a really bulky looking rolled strap. Maybe that's some people's things, but I'm not into it. So, and because it's kind of stretched out, and so when I'm wearing it, you can clearly see my bra and everything. If I'm on the beach and just had my bathing suit top underneath, that could work. But yeah, so this might go into the giveaway pile as well. We'll see. I'll try again this summer, but I'd like to find, as I said, like a cotton merino yarn to make another one. So making Darcy's Currant Cardigan, that full like textured cardigan, was kind of me building up to making my own cable cardigan. So I had on my bucket list, I'd always wanted to make or have V-neck cabled cardigan. So in the dead of summer, I decided to start knitting up this super woolly item, but I intended to start at that time because I wanted it to be done so I could wear it for fall. So the pattern I used is called the Must Have Cardigan, and I recommend, if you want to know more about this, I discuss this at great length in, I believe it's episode 3 of my podcast episodes. But it is a free pattern. It's not size inclusive, but I go into all of that in episode 3. 2023. So obviously I decided to use it anyways, despite it not being size inclusive. That's also explained in that video. This is Briggs & Little Regal yarn. Briggs & Little is a Canadian yarn. The mill is over on the East Coast, and I think it's Canada's oldest running mill. This is definitely, I would consider this a more rustic yarn. I really love the color. This is the light brown colorway in their Regal line. And this yarn was amazing to knit up for this cable texture all over texture stuff that's happening. Like when I wear this, I love just touching it. I love how three-dimensional it is. This yarn's quite toothy, which makes it really perfect for knitting cables and not needing to use a cable needle. I think I had to use it for just these crosses in the motif, but other than that, I didn't need to use a cable needle. So I knit and block this to the finished measurements of the pattern. I didn't realize that it was such a cropped length, which is okay. Like, it still hits right at the top of my jeans, but the sleeves came out quite short. So I guess my arms are longer than what they made the pattern for, I suppose. And this is constructed in pieces, then seamed together. So I thought the sleeves were going to be long enough. I kind of tried to do a try-on, but they are knit from the cuff up. So once everything was, you know, all done, I couldn't really do anything about the length. I have considered about maybe doing a little bit of knit surgery and maybe just adding a longer cuff. And I don't want a rolled cuff look at the bottom, and I also don't want the super long cuff or ribbing. I don't think that would look very good with this style. I don't know, but I use this for layering. I wear this, actually I wore this week to the park with Darcy with this exact top and a light jacket over top, and it was perfect for the weather that we had in Vancouver that day. Yeah, you get, you know, a lot of warmth for a little bit of fabric with this kind of wool. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be keeping this. I'm definitely going to continue wearing this. Maybe in a couple years time or something, I will remake it with modifications to have longer sleeves and maybe longer body, but for now, this is something that's going to stay in my wardrobe and be used. So the June top and the must-have cardigan, those were completed when I had started this YouTube channel. So I started this channel in August 2022. So those two items and all the items I'm going to show you next. If you've been following along, these are all items you've seen before. So you can definitely go back to my podcast episodes to find out more information about them if you'd like. But yeah, let's keep going. This is my Wednesday sweater, another design from Petit Knit. So the yarn is Noro Silk Garden Solo, the worsted weight. The sock weight in this colorway was kind of made famous from Petit Knit because she uses that for the terrazzo sweater, which is very similar to this, except it's like smaller, less oversized. It's got a different shoulder detail on it. But what I wanted to make was an oversized, really comfy, casual sweater. So the Wednesday sweater, you've got the turtleneck, and there are side slits on the body. I love this sweater. At first, when I was knitting this up and looking at all the colors happening, I'm not a super colorful wearing person, so I definitely had a few doubts along the way. I was wondering, oh, is it too much yellow, too much pink? Is it too crazy? But now I just love it. I think it reminds me of like the ocean, of mother of pearl, of shells, and it's almost like muted, so it's like a neutral sweater, yet it's colorful at the same time. But I love it. It's one of my go-tos for if we're just heading out to do errands and I want to be comfortable but warm, not necessarily need a jacket, then this is my go-to. I love this. Great experience working with that Neuro yarn. I definitely want to save up to buy more Neuro. I think it's Madeira, the sake color, I think is what I'd like to get to make another sweater. I'm thinking like a big oversized cardigan. But yeah. Oh, as for the Wednesday sweater, the pattern itself, I would like to make another one. I'm not sure what color I would do. Probably just something neutral because, again, I'm pretty plain when it comes to color choices. As for wear and durability of the sweater, I think I've done one depill session with this. And it seems to be holding up fine. I don't have any issue of felting or anything. When I was knitting up this was one that I was really worried that I'd chosen the wrong size. So I did do a gauge swatch, but when I was pretty much nearing completion of this sweater and tried it on, it was not oversized at all. It just was kind of like a little bit baggy, and I don't know, it just didn't look right. And part of me thought, oh gosh, is this gonna be like a lot smaller than what I intended to be? But I consulted my gauge swatch again, looked at the stitch counts and everything, and told myself, let's just trust that blocking is gonna work out and it's gonna come out the size that it's supposed to be. And it did. Like the amount of, I don't know if you can even say bloom, but like stretch that I got just from it like soaking and then like laying it out, this thing just like grew to the expected size. So this didn't grow like much larger than the finished measurements that's listed in the pattern. So I'm really glad I just trusted the process for that. So if you're in the same boat, like just reconsult your gauge swatch, make sure your gauge swatch was, washed and blocked, and then make the decision whether it's gonna work out for you or not. The next item is a bit of a fun item. So we are heading into fall. It's getting close to Halloween time. So my husband decided that he wanted Darcy to dress up as Red Riding Hood for Halloween. So he kind of, I said this in the podcast episode, turned to me and said, "Can you make her a costume?" I hummed and hawed about it, and of course, secretly, I was like, "Oh, that would be a good challenge." So made her a little Red Riding Hood. It started out as just like a cloak, and we struggled to get Darcy to wear it. So I thought maybe if I cut holes and we said it was a jacket, then she would wear it. So I steeped. It looks really messy because it is acrylic yarn, so there's no felting to stop it from opening. I did do a crochet slip chain around the opening to kind of prevent any unraveling, but it served its purpose. She wore this on Halloween, or maybe, nope, it was the day before Halloween for her birthday party. She dressed up in this. We ended up not going out for Halloween because it was super cold, and Darcy's not really at the age where she knows what trick-or-treating is, so maybe we'll try this again next year, or I'll make something else. But that was kind of like a little fun item, kind of a stash busting item as well. Okay guys, we're almost there. My next item is probably my most famous knit, maybe other than the Wednesday sweater, because of the Noro Omitema colorway yarn that I used. But my next item is my Chantilly cardigan. I have a whole video, vlog video about this cardigan, so I'm not going to say too much about it now. The yarn is all locally hand-dyed yarn. I used a superwash fingering from Isis Fiber Arts. I used Surrey alpaca from Bramble Ridge, hand-dyed yarns. The buttons, I bought shell buttons. Those I purchased from a shop in Montreal. Well, let's say Quebec to be safe. Off Etsy. And yeah, so if you watched that video, then you know. If you haven't, take a look at it. This item is, you know, not what I would typically wear. Like, it's kind of like a big feminine collar, but oh my god, I'm so glad I made this. It is like cozy, but like looks good too. Like nice enough to wear on a date, go out for dinner on a cooler day, but also just because of the amount of ease I chose, it's really cozy and comfortable. I can wear it inside on a cold day just to, you know, wrap myself up in all this like super soft suri. Yeah, I am very happy with how this turned out. I've worn this a number of times. It's holding up well so far, but you know, I just finished this in, I think it was November, so I haven't actually worn it that many times. Like, it's only been about a month and a half, so but I'm looking forward to pairing this in early spring with some dresses. Maybe I'll share some styling shots or videos of how I'm wearing my Chantilly, but oh, I really like this. It's so soft. It's so squishy, especially with how it's constructed with like 2 strands of fingering held together with the suri. Mine just feels really like squishy, bouncy, airy. Yeah, there's like nothing but good things can be said about this cardigan, and the pattern is amazing, so easy to follow. I really liked how, so normally I always knit the smallest size that's offered for a pattern, and this was, I don't know if there's any other pattern, but one of the times where I didn't knit the smallest size, and not just because I wanted more ease, but also because my measurements were not the smallest size. So I was really happy to see that a couple sizes smaller than me were offered, because yes, I am a slender person, but I'm not like super small. So again, size range really great in the pattern. Penrose Knits, Laura, amazing. My cardigan project also was on the Ravelry homepage, and that was super exciting. I had no idea. Laura messaged me on Instagram to share that, and that was just like, I didn't even know that happening never even crossed my mind as something that could happen. But yeah, I felt like a little celebrity for a day. Okay, my last garment of 2022, which is also the second last item I am sharing from 2022, is Darcy's Moby sweater mini. Oh gosh, I love this. It is so soft. Like, it's pretty close. Like, it's almost as soft as my Chantilly cardigan. So I made mine with the baby alpaca yarn from We Are Knitters in this rainbow sprinkle. and paired it, held a strand of the We Are Knitters Touch Me mohair, which even though it's called mohair, it's mostly alpaca. But anyways, that works out for me because I really love alpaca. And so this sweater is so soft. I finished it in time for Christmas. We ended up putting Darcy in something else for Christmas dinner, but she has worn this. We went to the aquarium before New Year's, and a lady actually came up and asked me if I had knit this for my daughter and said I did like a really nice job. So that was a big bonus. I love when people go out of their way to, ask about your knits. It doesn't happen. It's kind of starting to happen because I'm actually starting to make nicer knits and wear them out in public. But usually it would happen because I've put something on Darcy. Yeah. So I made the size 2. Is it coupled? So it's like 2 to 3. I can't remember. But anyways, Darcy's 2, so I would made the probably size 2 to 3. It's the second size. I made the second size for her. I didn't make any modifications. I followed the pattern exactly. Even though all this texture might look complicated or like a lot of work, it gets addicting. Everything just starts to flow. You kind of understand. It's intuitive, I should say. And you get one row done in the chart and you're like, I want to do the next one. Oh, I want to make it to that next cable cross point. And yeah, it's knit up like relatively quickly, actually. I will say that this yarn combination, being alpaca, was a bit slippery, so I did switch to bamboo needles. You probably don't have to, but if it reaches a level of slipperiness, then I start kind of tensing, and that with working cable motifs was not good for my hands. So switching to bamboo needles helped, but this was definitely something I had to knit in shorter stints, and if I did knit too long, I definitely had like claw or like sore fingers after. So I will be making the adult version for myself. I'm going to try to, not pressure myself to complete that one because I know that one's gonna, it's bigger. It's got more texture to have to knit up. So I have to remember to be kind to my hands when I work on that one. Okay, the final item is not a garment. It's an accessory. I have my Sophie Shawl, which is, it's funny, I've seen so many people make their Sophie Shawl or Sophie scarf and roll it up this way and make a little croissant. It's, yeah, it's fun. But also it's like when I want to wear it, if I keep it stored like this, then it's like, I'm sorry, I'm such a nerd. I made the largest size. I have not washed and blocked this yet because after I finished it, I wanted to wear it and I did not want to wait for drying time because obviously things take longer to dry in the winter. But this is made out of Drops soft tweed and the colorway is called Raven. It's like a black charcoal with some kind of golden, beige, brown, silver gray flecks going through it. And I used a total of 4 balls and I knit with, I did not use the pattern needle size. I think I used 4.5. Yeah, I used 4.5 millimeter needles and it somehow worked out to like the actual dimensions of the largest size and everything just worked out perfectly. After using up the 4 balls of yarn, I had like this much yarn left over, like not enough to use it for anything. It was perfect. I really like that. But yeah, I've worn this out. I really like the color of this one because it will match all of my jackets, light or dark. The garter stitch is super squishy and comfortable. I can only imagine that it will feel a bit softer after I actually do give it a little bit of a wash. I definitely do want to give it a wash because it is around my face. So um, definitely on the team, clean your knits before you wear them. But this was the one exception because I wanted to wear it. All right, guys, that is everything that I knit in 2022. Thanks for hanging out with me and hope you enjoyed all me sharing all of my makes. So what's going to happen for 2023? So one, I do have a goal to knit more monogamously, at least per person. So what I mean by that is one whip for myself and one whip for Darcy, just to feel less frantic or feel less scatterbrained. I want to be more disciplined and be able to focus on each garment rather than switching back and forth. And I have built up quite a stash. I mean, it's not a huge stash, but it's large enough that I have no more room in my little kind of yarn locker cupboard where I keep all of my animal fiber yarn. So I am going to try not to buy yarn for, I don't know, we'll see. I don't have a set number of like days, weeks, or months. I'm gonna hold out as long as I can and work through my queue that I have in Ravelry, because I'm almost starting to reach the point where, you know, I'm purchasing all this yarn and I'm getting too attracted by all the new patterns that are coming out and just kind of pushing aside all those things that I had picked months ago. And so I want to go back and actually knit up what I intended to and work through those, and also hopefully kind of save up some money for the next knit city. I hope there's a next knit city in Vancouver. And also just kind of more specialty yarns, because commercial yarns are pretty consistent. They're kind of always out there. So even if a sale comes up, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to resist and not buy yarn. So yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. I kind of filled that void by buying some fabric because I'm gonna try to get into sewing this year. Going to sew some dresses for Darcy and some spring dresses for myself. But I'm telling myself now to stop buying fabric and actually sew up those dresses first before buying more. So yeah, working through the stash is the goal this year, and also being more intentional in what I choose to knit. I really enjoy when Emily of High Fiber Knits discusses intentionality. So yes, it's fun to knit up items, but I want to, you know, focus more and be more choosy. Pick out items that I'm going to wear, you know, long term, season after season. You know, enjoy knitting it as well, but not have this guilt after of, well, I enjoyed knitting it, but you know what, I chose the wrong color, or I chose the wrong size, or, you know, I don't want to knit something and end up not wearing it. Now, that could definitely, the chance of that could still happen, but I want to do as much thought about the item, how it's going to fit into my wardrobe, color-wise, fit-wise, what it's going to match, before I choose it. So that brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks again for hanging out with me, guys, and until next time, happy knitting. Bye.